Hello, I'm Dr. Maury Markman from City of Hope. And what I'd like to discuss today on Minutes with Markman and over the next several sections is the topic of the toxicities of systemic anti-neoplastic therapy. Now, I've chosen my words carefully here because you might just say, why don't you just say chemotherapy? Chemotherapy, after all, is just drugs. But the term chemotherapy has become really synonymous with cytotoxic chemotherapy. And as I'm going to emphasize, there has been a massive change in the armamentarium of anti-neoplastic therapy, where much of what we give now is not cytotoxic therapy. So I don't want to confuse this. We're going to cover the topic of systemic anti-neoplastic therapy, which of course includes chemotherapy or cytotoxic chemotherapy. Now, there are several aspects of this topic that I'm going to cover again today in the next several sessions. But today I'm going to start with what I consider to be the critical discussion of, frankly, the inadequacy of the reporting of the toxicity of treatment in our clinical trials in the peer-reviewed literature. I note a recent publication that was in the Journal of Clinical Oncology Practice, which used, I think, the really appropriate terminology, toxicity minimizing language. That's meant to be a negative. It's because it is. In this report, which actually looked at 407 trials involving 322,000 patients, the authors noted that complete toxicity reporting, and the investigators define that in the paper, but of course it will include all adverse events, serious adverse events, and very importantly, treatment discontinuation rates, etc. Complete reporting occurred in the peer-reviewed publications in only 1/3 of the trials from industry, and remarkably and quite distressingly, less than 5% of randomized phase 3 trials from the cooperative groups that included complete toxicity reporting. I'd also add that it is very common to see conclusions in papers, particularly in the abstract, which is often what people look at, that describes toxicity as this regimen was reasonably well tolerated. There was manageable toxicity, or the regimen was tolerated in most patients. Now, even recognizing the fundamental serious issue of the lack of relevance of the patients in clinical trials to what's seen in the real world because of the fact that patients with marginal performance status are excluded, or patients with serious common comorbidities are excluded, even recognizing that the patient population does not match what we actually see in practice. These summaries, reasonably well tolerated, manageable toxicities, frequently are a gross understatement of the magnitude of the negative impact of treatment on patients' quality of lives. This is a topic that requires much greater attention and discussion in the future, including from the reviewers of these manuscripts as well as the journal editors. I'll come back to this in a later session. More to discuss on this topic, and I thank you for your attention.